the key for whatever you want to achieve, it's within you, despite everything you see around you.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Life Stories. Today, I have the honor and the privilege to be hanging out with one of the most inspirational people that I know. He's always out in the world, making a difference, doing big things. The one and only, my people himself, Cedric. What's up, man?
Yes.
Thanks so much for being here, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So, Cedric, I've known you for quite a bit right now, and I always see you around. But what is your story? Like, where did you come from? Where did you start? How did you get here?
Oh man, my story goes all the way far, man. Born in the Congo, South Kivu, in a very small city called Bagira. Grew up there, went to primary and high school there, and then moved to Uganda, lived there as a refugee, and then here we are in America.
How was life being in Uganda as a refugee for you?
Man, it's just like one of those things you never know how they will happen to you. It's just like things you never imagine. But again, it was strange because you live in a place you don't know, speak the language. You don't know anyone. Yeah. It's just like starting from zero with all the ups and downs. So crazy stuff.
What was the craziest thing you remember while you were there?
The very big shock was the very first time we got there. We found ourselves in a 4x6 room, 7 kids, 2 parents, crazy.
Wow.
Like no windows, bathrooms outside, sewages in front of the house. It took like really time to click in to understand like, wait, what is this? That's the very, very first shocking moment.
Wow. So back then, what would you say was the vision that you had for your life? Like, did you anticipate that you were going to get to this place one day? Like,
Nah. Yeah. At that point, I think there's no vision. I don't think there was any type of understanding where life takes you. When in that situation, I never knew that anything will come out of it because it was just like a blur. It was just like dark, you know, and you're trying to figure out how did I get here? Yeah. You know, what is going on? Yeah. So there was not really, at that very moment, that very week, that very first month, that very first couple of months, it was just like nothing, like no thinking about anything. Everything was just like dark because the mind was back home. Yeah. You know, you're still thinking about your house, your room, your friends. Yeah. You know, school, you're still thinking about your neighborhood, you're thinking about, you know, everything that you've left. So the mind was still in the past because I was there physically, mentally. I mean, I was there physically, but my mental and my brain, my everything was still back.
What would you say helped you get through that phase of your life?
Looking at other people like me that were very desperate and looking at my parents, especially my mom, being in a situation that was also like never, you know, understood or, you know, the whole thing. I think it was the click in my brain is like, no, we need to switch. Yeah. From forget about the past, consider this is your reality. How are you going to deal with it?
Yes. What are some of the ways that you dealt with it?
I think for me, I'm a very extrovert person. Yeah. And one of the things that gives me joy is to be with people. Yeah. And seeing different with people. And at that moment, I feel like being close to other people was going to be one of the ways to connect. Yeah. Or doing something that can create a little bit change, not only for other people, for myself. Yeah. That was the goal. And that's why, you know, being in Uganda, I started an organization called YARID, which was basically, you know, helping other youth that are going through the same shock, the same transition to play and to discuss those issues as a way of mental health. Wow. That was my way. So I was doing that for myself. Wow. While I'm inviting other people that came up to grow like a big thing. But that was the coping mechanism.
Man, that's amazing. Tell us more about that. Like, how did that even come to your mind? Like, I'm going to start my own organization, even though I'm still in the refugee camp myself.
Bro, I mean, that was in Kampala. And, you know, you see a lot of people struggling, going through what I've just said. And you have no hope for future or anything. Yeah. But again, you see the trend is going to different people from different nationalities and all that. And then you feel like, no, I mean, something can be done. You don't stay in this bubble because it will kill you.
Yeah.
You gotta have to do something. And that's when, with, some churches we went to and some few people, we say we gotta do something. And that's why we started the organization, and that's why we started bringing youth together, and my friend Kefa, big up. And that's why we started just like jumping from there. And that's how we and that was a coping mechanism. When you have something going on in a very foreign country, no language. I speak French and Swahili. They speak English in Luganda.
So you didn't even speak the language at the time?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Wow.
Not at all.
And you are like the true face of somebody that does not let circumstances hold you back.
Oh, no. I mean, that's enough for me. I feel like circumstances cannot, you should not let circumstances determine who you are. You need to deal with it. Yeah, because in that specific moment, I had a lot of friends who were in drugs.
Wow.
I had a lot of neighbors who went back into rebel groups and become child soldiers. I'm talking about freaking 17, 18 years old.
Man.
Yeah. So I didn't let my mind take me to whatever negative stuff, but take me to something very important.
Man. Wow. So fast forward, you come to the United States.
Fast forward after 6 years of ups and downs, understanding the city, understanding the ins and outs, starting doing a few things really important in the community, starting a really driving change, because I feel like I was one of the first people in Uganda in a community that were driving the community in a very positive direction through, the organization, which was part of myself, my own healing process. And then, I found myself in America, California. Boom.
So the first place that you came to when you came to America was California?
No, actually, it was in Kentucky. But I only stayed in Kentucky for a week or two.
Wow, that's very interesting.
And then I left.
That's very interesting. Because I know your family lives in Kentucky, right?
Yes.
So you left and went to California. And I think I heard a story about that. What was the motivation behind that? You didn't even know anybody.
Well, I knew a couple of friends who used to live with in Uganda. They were family friends, church friends. And, I wanted to see how America looks like. And for me, coming to America was just one goal. I got to make it. I got to do everything to be successful. And when I came to Kentucky, Kentucky felt like a very small town, very small city, Lexington. And I felt like, nah. For me to be able to get somewhere, I gotta see what my opportunities are, see what outside there. But also the ability and curiosity to be able to travel places, to see everything you've seen in media and whatever. And 2 weeks, I took a bus to Iowa.
Wow. Okay.
And then after Iowa, I took a flight to Arizona. And then from Arizona, I drove to Vegas.
And you were doing all this by yourself?
By myself.
Within the first,
did nothing. No, within the very first month in America.
Wow.
From Arizona, I drove down San Diego, California.
How was that experience for you? Like, were you, I don't know, was it just exciting, or were you scared, or were you worried about anything?
I was excited. I was so excited, but also I was just like, I didn't know that it's today that when I think about it, even I ask myself, what was I thinking about? Because I remember when you take a Greyhound, you know, the buses, the interstate buses.
I've been on a lot of Greyhounds.
When you go to those, cross states, and they will stop you, ID. I don't have I had this paper. These it was not an ID because I didn't have an ID or nothing.
The I-94.
It's this the I-94 paper. That's what I had. And then the police will look at it and
what
stuff.
Is this?
And then they look at, where's this guy coming? Is it illegal or whatever something? That was the experience.
Man, that's amazing. So how was the transition into America? So first of all, I guess when you went to California, you stayed there, right?
When I went to California, I stayed with friends and family that welcomed me. I'm so grateful, forever grateful for them, and introduced me to the California world, and introduced me to what San Diego looks like and what is there. But also the fact that I was already involved into forced displacement, refugee work, INGO. I started looking for ways to get there. But again, as you know, life in America is not about like you come in and you get whatever you want. I started working on, a thrift store. It's called Team MVET. It's a veteran thrift store where I just used to, not even like, a cashier or anything. I was cleaning, just a cleaner or whatever, And then after that, I started working with the Marines. I got a good gig with the family I was staying with. The guy introduced me to this culture orientation with Marines that was supposed to be deployed in Africa to provide some culture orientation so that they can get prepared. I work with them, and that was like a really jump start because there was good money by that time. That's why I got my first car. And that's why I got some money to have my first apartment. But as well as just transitioning to start working in International Rescue Committee.
And this is San Diego, California. For a lot of people that don't know, like California is one of the most expensive places to live compared to other places in the United States, right? So this is your first month in the US. You're like, you know what? I'm not going to stay in Kentucky. I'm going to go to California. And then you get your first job at a thrift store. And then you start working for the Marines. What was the period between that time, between when you had your first job and your second job and getting your first apartment?
I think it was really coming simultaneously. Because the Marine job at Camp Downtown was just like, it's not like every day, it's not a full time. It was just like you go for some days, you might be called again next month. It's just like being on call on military. You know, but again, even though you go for 3-4 days, you can get money more than what you could get paid for 2 weeks in the thrift store. You know, but it didn't really take so much, and then I transitioned to volunteering at IRC. You know, and that's why I met my wife actually. And then I got hired, and then my career started from there, and that was.
So I want to get a glimpse in your mind between, because I know when you were in Africa, for example, right? You had your vision was different. You said that at that time you were trying to survive at that time, right? So how did your vision change when you're in Africa and now when you're in America? How did the vision of your life, besides like I'm gonna make it, like what was that? Did you have a plan of how that make it is gonna look like? What are some of the things that you had? You know,
I think one thing I've learned is like your environment dictates your actions. Your environment dictates your success. Your environment dictates your next move. When I was in Congo as every child, if I can go back from there, I grew up and I always think about I want to be a doctor. I want to be a doctor. I want to do my old dreams and aspirations has always been in Congo. That one did never happen. You know, and honestly speaking, I would say like Congo failed me. And then being in Uganda, that dream was not, because when I got there, there was no way to continue education in the very first year, you know, so everything is blurry. You're trying to figure out survival. And the survival there is at least trying to find something to eat or trying to find where to sleep. So the bigger dreams right now are fading. They are not there. But you are looking at how do I get out of this situation to be at least a little bit important in a community. This is a foreign country that is really, really different, but still in Africa. But you still feel really strange. You understand? So the idea of being very, very successful in that place was very limited, you know? But as long as you can survive and have a place to stay, what to eat, and just like getting something for yourself, that was the goal. You see how we shifted? Now, once in America, I know, man, this is a country of asali na maziwa, you know?
Country of opportunities, man.
Yes, I was like, dang, this is it. It's now or never. And now I started dreaming big. When I come to America, that's where all my dream came back of being successful, being important, being something in a community. On my own way, because honestly, success is very defined in very differently, and I have my own way on how I define it. So when I say successful on my own way, looking at where I'm coming from.
So you're talking about your own way. So the roadmap to success looks different for everybody, right? What was the roadmap to success for you? What did you define success as? Because for some people, success is being able to just eat. You know what I'm saying? For some people, it's being able to raise their family. For some people, it's making an impact in the community like you're doing every day. What was success? What was the definition of success for you?
So when I got to America, I think one of the things I told myself, you know, after talking to people, and I won't forget some of the people I met earlier days who told me like, hey, stay out of trouble. Stay out of anything that can cause you to be against the law in this country. So that was like something that I knew at the beginning, just like do what you need to do and move on. Now, in my mindset of trying to find myself and trying to make it in this great nation was like, man, I want to be able to work hard, you know, and being able to being financially stable.
Okay.
You know, and for me, in this country, in this context, for me as an immigrant, as a diaspora, being successful is making sure that I can be financially stable with no debts or not too much debt.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yes.
And being able to have at least a place you call home with a house. Do you understand?
Yeah,
where you can have a house and own something.
Yes.
But also being able to invest in some point and in some ways, whereby, you know, at least I have some extra change that I can be able to help people back home and do something back home. Wow. When I say back home, it might not necessarily be in Congo, whatever. Just it can be somewhere back home in the motherland.
Yeah,
that's what I define success for me. And for me, in order to do that, there are some things that I told myself that I need to do, and the 3 things always go with me.
Yes.
1 is working hard.
Yes.
10 times more than anybody, regardless. You know, like I gotta put up work. 2 is stay out of trouble, because this country is led by law.
Yes.
You know, anything small can screw you like crazy.
Yeah.
You know, so I always put in the back of my mind, I gotta stay out of police. I gotta stay out of trouble. I gotta stay out of any of those things.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And the 3rd thing that I always want to put forth in my life is just like, whatever happens to you, you have the key for it. It doesn't have to be anyone else.
Wow.
You have the key for everything you want to do, regardless. So, meaning everything that can happen to me depends on me.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a perspective.
Because and I learned that at least a year or 2 after being in this country, where there's so much going on. You know, there's racial issues, discrimination issues.
Yeah.
There is minority versus whatever, this and that. And sometimes when you stuck into that mindset, sometimes it draws you back.
Yes.
But one thing that reminds me every day that the key for whatever you want to achieve, it's within you, despite everything you see around you.
Man, that's amazing. You know, it's kind of like what they say, the water around the boat does not sink the boat until it gets inside the boat. Exactly. It's kind of like what happened outside of you does not affect you as much as what
inside
you allow.
Yeah.
So how do you cultivate an inside that is healthy, stays creative, and stays motivated to achieve your goals? What is Cedric's recipe for this?
That's a really, you know, coming from a place where you are defined by the external factors, is very hard to get out of that mentality. And, you know, growing up, you might relate that, you know, where I'm coming from, you are always defined by what your community says. Yeah. You are always defined by what your parents say to you. You are always defined by church. And then everybody else. Yes. Sometimes you do not have even time to think for yourself and do things for yourself, because everything has to be, you know, factored by externally. Yeah. For me, I had to remove that first. To know that everyone else out there, I don't care. What I care the most, it's me. Yeah. And what happens with me, it's in here, not out there. Yeah. So I have to find what's in there. And what is it that I want? It's everything that I put up as a plan, as a goal, regardless of whoever person says about it. Yeah. That's the recipe for that.
Man, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, Cedric, many people might not know this, but I met you for the first time. It was around the time you were getting married. Yeah. And the way that I saw you in the community, you were always doing projects to make a difference. Yeah. You would do events. And tell us a little bit about your inspiration behind all the amazing work that you do. And I want you to tell people some of the work that you're doing, because you're doing some great work both in America and in Uganda and in other parts of Africa, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, my inspiration for me, it's not even inspiration, you know. I'm always a guy that likes justice. Yeah. You know, and that's why actually my son is called Justice.
You named your son Justice.
I don't like to see a world where unfairness, it's just crazy, even though, again, I understand this world will never be fair. Yeah. That's a fact. And it will never favor neither me or anything. Being involved in project or things is just like to play a little bit part for things that I can be able to do, a thing that I can be able to affect change, for things that I can be able to be a part of. But most especially is to look at who I am and who I was, and look at the people that were like me, and how and have no voice into some platforms. And that's why I started really, you know, involving to organizations that I know they can do a little bit of a difference. also going globally into, platforms that, decision-making process, and then I ended up, speaking at the African Union, in Geneva, a couple of times for forced, migrations and refugee issues, stakeholder engagement in different places in the platforms that I got opportunity to be a part of, just at least to voice myself, even though I know sometimes it might not make a huge difference, but to hear a story of somebody that has been through there, speaking on the behalf of those that are not there, I felt like it's something little to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the future of YARID after you moved to the States?
I stayed supporting the organizations, the people. I was, many people don't know this, but you're the first person I say. I tell you this. I was even paying, people that were there.
Wow.
On my own paycheck.
Like they were on payroll?
For me.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll pay them. When you say pay, we start life in America, you're making, $12, $15 an hour.
Yeah, sounds about right.
I'll take like 50,000 Uganda shilling, equivalent to $10, $15. I'll put a couple of people. I'll tell my wife, we gotta help these people.
Yeah.
And we'll make like a list of things and we'll send them money, but sometimes I don't talk about this because today it's a different story.
Yeah.
But that was the reality. I continue advocating, fundraising, speaking, just to help the organization. And with that self-care that led into bringing other people. Yeah, today the organization has more than 50 employees.
Wow.
I would say even 60. And has got really, he has done a lot of impact.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So something to be proud of, just to be able to be a visionary with that. And my friend Kefa.
Man.
It's great.
Man, that's very inspiring, man. There's a lot of people that feel like for them to do stuff like that, they need a lot of money.
Yeah, no. That was just out of.
You started with what you had.
That was just like starting from basically nothing, zero.
Wow.
Zero. And not only that, I got to support other community organizations in one way or another, even beyond Uganda, at some points in Congo, in Beni, in Bunia.
Wow.
Support for orphanage, small businesses in Bukavu, in Goma. Yeah. Some organization in refugee camps, even people that I don't know. And that's why, beyond YARID, we created your platform, which was really a way to support other entrepreneurs and other small businesses to thrive technically and financially.
Wow.
And my wife and I will really do fundraising, even get our own money and just send organizations and people just to be successful. Wow. And one of the most recent, actually very successful story that I'm very proud of, it's the NASA, which is the Naki Valley Soccer Academy. It's one of the things that, we initiated, we started and let the community go with it. And then when you empower people, sometimes even not being there, it's the very, very important things to do. And today they're just big and they're doing some amazing stuff. And many things here and there that sometimes it's really hard for a person to speak about it. Yeah. Let's the people or the action speaks to it, but now you talk about the story of self. Yeah. I'm happy to share that, but sometimes you rarely hear me talk about things like that.
No, I think it's important to share stories like that because it gives other people hope that they can be a part of the change that's happening around them. Sometimes all it takes is to see someone else doing it to realize that, oh man, instead of just sitting here, I can also go and make a difference. So I think it's good, man.
Yeah.
For that child, right, who's growing up, wants to be a part of the change and wants to be involved in great work, amazing work that seems unreachable. Like some of the stuff that you're doing right now seemed unreachable when you were in Uganda. What would you tell that person?
Where is this person?
Somewhere, let's say hypothetically, somewhere at the same refugee camp that you were in.
I am not different.
Yeah.
There is only one thing that makes me different between me and that person in a refugee camp somewhere. There is only one difference between me and somebody in somewhere city in a Congo.
Yeah.
There is only difference between Cedric, who is in America right now, and Cedric, who is still sitting in Bagheera where I was born. And you know what's the difference?
What's the difference?
The environment and the place where you are.
Yeah.
I cannot say that person sitting in Bagheera right now is going to be like me, because that person does not have privilege of opportunities that I have. The only way I am who I am, or I have what I have, or I have stepped into opportunities that I have, not only because I work hard, because I've met the most hardworking people ever, and I feel myself like an insect. I've met the most resilient people ever in my life. I've met the most smartest people in my life. But the problem is the place where they are does not provide the opportunity to build up on whatever they have.
Wow.
So that's why I ask you where.
Yeah.
Because that question for me has to be very specific, you know? Yeah. And I'll break it in a minute.
Yes.
In a place like Congo, it's really hard for a young person to dream, become a millionaire, or to dream big if he's not in politics. Only politics today gives you so much money. The other way to get money, you're stealing and you become a thief. And that have a lot of consequences. You know why? Because Congo as a country itself does not give opportunity for people to thrive. Because there is no opportunity. And I made some couple of trips in the Congo, either from Kinshasa and Goma and Bukavu personally in the last couple of years. You see people that have finished masters, PhDs. You know what they do? They're security people at the gate somewhere, and they're earning $50 a month. That means their diploma is useless. Yet, now you have somebody in America who has no diploma. Even though they work at Amazon, they work wherever they work in a company, in a factory, they make up to $50,000 a month. So it depends on where you are. So that's why even for us in the diaspora, we cannot judge the people back home as being lazy, as being whatever. They just don't have the opportunity we have. It's just sometimes we forget that.
That's true.
But as for the person that lives in a refugee situation of forced displacement, just have hope and don't give up. Why hope? Because I don't think people in a forced displacement, I'm talking about majority, will ever be successful in those countries because there are so many restrictions. Now speaking, there are many refugees, I work with in that field right now. There are many refugees in places in Tanzania that are going to be, returned home without their willingness. There are people in places like Ethiopia, where I've been as well. Most refugees are not even allowed to live in a city. How are you going to be successful in a village? In places like East Africa, in Uganda, most of resettlement places are the places sometimes it's just like a jungle. It's like you living in primitive world. How are you going to be successful? The cycle of poverty continues. Do you understand?
Yeah.
But to be hopeful, that's the word. To be hopeful and to do what's good for you at that specific moment.
To maximize on what
you have. To maximize what you have. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And those 10% or 1% that get opportunity for jobs for whatever, inshallah.
Yeah.
For those majority, just have hope. Because there's less that can happen in that situation.
So I guess the question is, how do we maximize? Take out organizations, right? Take out help, because in Africa we're used to help.
Yeah.
How do we self-help?
I think for me, that's what I always do.
Yeah.
You have to take advantage of what is in front of you. You know, and if you say take out, help, because a lot of people always want to be given. They don't want to put some work. A lot of people always want to go shortcuts. Yeah. But realizing that where you are, you can create opportunity through a skill,
Yeah.
Through, whatever the environment, if it's land or farming, whatever, just look around where you are and how you can maximize whatever is there to get there without thinking of something very big, and especially when you come from where we're coming from, especially like Congo, like everybody want to be in an office. Yeah. Everybody want to be a boss. Everybody want to be called leader. Everybody want to be called chef. And that's why you see a lot of the basic things that young people today that I feel they could have done and make a lot of money, like I've seen in a lot of East African countries like Uganda, people are not doing it because it's seen as small, dirty jobs. Things like such as agriculture. You have places that you have massive lands, but nobody can do anything about it.
Because they're considering it as
because they're considering, and I have a master's degree, I just finishing this university, what I need to be a DJ, blah, blah, blah. And you see people are broke. Too much French.
Bro, it's funny because I've heard conversations even here in Lexington where some of the Congolese, some of the people in our Congolese community that have the most money here do the most regular jobs, but they do it consistently and they've done it for the longest time and their pay has increased.
Exactly.
But in Africa,
that's my answer.
That in Africa, somebody's like, nah, I'm not.
And that's my answer. Just use your local resources to be able to get it. And then for me, as I say, my work today, I'm kind of shifting into the giving of the United Nations, the humanitarian work. And that's the whole idea of your platform. How do you help small people to start thinking entrepreneurship? For me, or if you're an organization, I say, Cedric, can you advise me? I have this ING, I want to do something. I'll say, forget about the humanitarian. Turn your thing into social enterprise. Something that will
break that down, bro. Social enterprise.
Social enterprise, or social entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Which means like, as much as you want to help people, make that thing you want to do to generate money.
Okay.
This concept is still very hard for a lot of people to comprehend, to grasp, because people always want to be like, oh, Cedric, you're in America. Can you give me funds, some Muzungu to give me some money? But how about you start getting like, 2 goats, 2 whatever, and then see how much you get, you sell, you get another one, and you make money, So people should start shifting of this idea of give me, and doing something that will generate money while you're doing impact. That's the whole thing we need to do. We need to start changing that.
Amazing.
And for me, if today, if I want to support any project, it's project that's sustainable. And sustainability does not comes with being given something. Sustainability is done or happen when you, whatever small you have, and make something out of it. The humanitarian situation is not meant for Africa because humanitarian sector does not exist to help Africa or people to be sustainable. That's why you see many ING when they close, they go with everything and they disappear. But they leave what with the community? Nothing.
People go back to the...
So people have to start investing into themselves to create money, to create economic opportunity, and to create jobs for themselves. Even with what is in humanitarian, and then you turn it to social entrepreneurship. To finish on my third point, when you talk about environment, for people that are in America, the opportunity that somebody has here is not the opportunity of finding somebody in a refugee camp or any type of displacement situation. It's not the opportunity you find in somebody that is in his own country, somewhere in Africa, because most of those people in the lower class are not privileged. But in this country, it does not matter who you are. You can at least get something. Either you have a degree or no degree. You can still work and you can make minimum wage. And the minimum wage in America right now is what? It's between $25,000 to $35,000 a year.
Wow.
So you want to tell me with $25,000 to $35,000, you cannot have at least an okay life if you choose a state or city that is cheap? But we still have people in this country, and I'm addressing to the young people, especially those who are coming for where I'm coming. You are abusing the systems and the opportunities you have, yet somebody back home or somebody in the refugee camp is looking for that opportunity every day, but you are wasting it by complaining, by drinking, by not complying with the law, and you're wasting the resources and taxpayers' money. If you are under 40 in this country like America, even with $10 an hour, in the cheapest city or state in this country, you can still have 3 food on the table, you can still stay out of trouble, you can still drive a car, and you can be 10 times better than somebody who's in a camp or in a very dysfunctional place like where I'm coming from. So no excuse.
But now on that note, we can finish. Hey, I'm not even going to add anything, man. Thanks for being here, bro. Thank you.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Until next time, this has been Life Stories.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Mambo vipi, mambo shwari, tuko fiti, tuko na